So this Zoom is a paid Zoom, so it's not going to end. It's not going to end in session like how it used to be. I've licensed it, meaning that I've paid for it. I can hold the meeting as long as I want, for even 24 hours. So let's pay attention and let's see how we can go around this. And please make sure you don't unmute so that you don't distract us. Okay. So let's start. Now, I think the paper is on Tuesday, right? Or Wednesday? Second is on, or it's first. I'm confused with my papers. So it's first, which is on Tuesday. Okay. So from now to Tuesday, you can sit down, go through everything. But I'm going to give you some areas that you can focus or target. That will be very beneficial to you. So we'll be dealing with, I think we'll be answering 3 questions in all, section A and section B. Now, section A covers from lecture 1 to lecture 6 or 7. Yeah, lecture 6, up to the planning methodologies. Yes, that's for lecture 1. That's for the part A. And the part B will tackle from lecture 7 to lecture 9. Here we have the regional planning, the urban planning, the Accra Airport City, and all that. So let's take note of these important areas. Now, I don't want to say I'm giving you questions, but that's the main reason why some of you are here. I don't give questions. We come here, we study, we think these areas are coming, so that if they don't come and tell me, because if they come, most of you don't even remember that I even gave you questions. So that I won't go and say anything, so that when it doesn't come, people will come to my DM to come and say things. Okay. Yes. So we are going to study, and we are going to look at some areas or trends in the past system. Then we can say that based on these trends, we should study this or to study that. Okay. So let me start. Now with the part A, the lecturer already gave us some he made us, or he went through with us. Okay. So it's good that we actually look at the I question that he brought. Somehow he may not repeat all of them, but he will surely repeat some of them, especially with the theories. Explain the following theories. Then you try to explain them. Let's say transactive theory, comparative, rational theory, and all that. So you have to explain any of them. Or he didn't bring a particular topic, which is a planning methodologies, the positivism and the normative approach. He didn't bring them. So there is more likely that part A will contain the planning methodologies, because the I didn't bring them. So the exam should expect something from there. Mind you, it's 6 questions in all, and we asked you to answer only 3 of them, with at least 2 questions, 1 question for each session. So it's good you actually play your cards very well. Now, the same part A, 1 question that we should expect is a practical question. If I say a practical question, what I mean is that has got to do with the planning. There's a past question that I'll read here to you. This is a more practical question. Okay. They'll tell you the process you have to go through to plan something in the community, which has got to do with the various steps of planning. It has got to do with various steps of planning. You say we are not answering today. Okay. If 2, no problem. If it is 2, then it is more risky. If it is 3, then it's somehow safe for all of us. But if you are answering only 2 questions, then it's very risky. Whatever be the case, let's prepare for anything that comes. So let's look at this practical question I'm talking about. That the lecturer will tell us to go to the steps to actually how do you go around in the planning process. How you have to state the program, the objectives, and all that. So when these are some key areas. Now let's come to the part B. The part B narrow it down to Africa and even Ghana. Most of the questions are more or less application questions. All of them, the application questions. So one of the areas that he taught us was the Accra Airport City project, the AAC project. So please, if you don't know anything about the AS, you have a lot of things on it. You have a lot of articles. And right now, it is too late for you to go and read articles. Or should I say, it's too early for you some of you, to go through some articles. So please focus on these areas, especially with the acquired positivity, why it was implemented, some significance of it or purpose it has come to serve, and then you look out for some challenges it has faced over the years. Okay. Please, who said you can you all not hear me? You can't hear me.
We can hear you.
I don't want anybody to mute so that it's a great night, but I'm speaking audibly and everybody can hear me. Okay, let's continue. So apart from this acquire positive projects, and I've given you the technical areas, I hope you're writing them. So the achievements or the reasons why it was implemented. When you start learning, you realize that the reasons and the achievements always match. Okay, they're almost the same. The only thing that differ among them is the challenges. Okay, so challenges that the acquired positive is likely to face or is facing is a practical question in it. And then you go to the urban development in Africa and Ghana. Okay, so here you look at pre-colonial, the colonial, post-colonial, or modern world. So before the colonial period, how was the urban plan, or how was the plan done in Ghana? And during colonial time, how was it carried out? After colonial, how has it been from then till now? You don't really have to understand everything, read everything there. You just have to understand some key things over there. And probably I'll touch on some of these key things before we close. Okay. Also, and then one last question that we should expect is the urban planning when it comes to Africa. So they somehow narrow it to Africa and Ghana, but Ghana has got two types. Okay, Ghana has got two types. Beside the Accra Airport City project, we have a place where it targets Ghana in general or Ghana as a whole, and we have a part where we also generalize it in the context of Africa. So please, these are areas that you should expect. Okay, if you studied enough, you are good to go. If you've not studied enough, I hope you've written them. Somebody has written them already. So these are areas that could be as a guide to all of us. Okay, so before I continue, if you don't understand anything or you didn't hear me well, please let me know so that I touch on it quickly before we start. I start teaching. Is any concern?
Hello,
Yeah,
please,
very
can you name the areas again? My network was breaking, so I wasn't able to.
Okay.
Hello. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Okay, thank you. So what I said was, let me quickly go through within 1 minute. So those of you who are facing network issue, I said with the part A, which is more of a theoretical question. The lecturer gave us an eye in some areas that he gave to us. He can repeat them, especially with the theories. Explain the following theories. And after explaining, maybe it's good you know some advantage or disadvantages. You understand? Good. And the theory they run through, they're almost similar. The theory part is not really complex. Some look at the interest of the people, some doesn't look at the interest of the people. But with the early parts, rational and those ones. So those are one area. The other area that I said was that lecture didn't bring any the methodologies of planning. It wasn't in the eye. So we should expect a question from the positivism and the normative. Positivism, the scientific one, or scientific one, the normative, which is the humanistic approach. We should focus on these areas. That's for part A. Yes. And then, yes. And then I came to the part B. I said the part A, I also gave another area that there could be another practical question that will highlight how you go through maybe a regional plan or how planning should be carried out. in summary, they want you to list the steps or procedures you go through to implement any plan. You get it? That's for the first part. And now, when you go to the part B, I mentioned that this semester we pick a particular project with Accra Airport City. Those of you who don't know Accra, them coming from a 37 road, here. When you get to somewhere, okay, but at least you know airport first, airport second. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. That's where we have the airport on the right side. You will see very tall buildings. It was a whole project that we have to carry out as a development or as a spatial star planning. Okay, and beside that, you also look at the urban development pre-colonial. Pre-colonial means before Ghana gained independence or before we even colonized. Colonial, during when these five people came to colonize, how was the planning carried out? And then we have the post-colonial. Post-colonial has got to do with after we gain independence. How has the plan been? You get it? You have to know it's not difficult. I mean, it's very straightforward, unless maybe you've not really sat down to it. If you sat down to it, you know the trends. Okay. And then the one last one is where we look at the regional level when it comes to Africa. Okay, we look at Africa as a whole, the urban development and some urban activities or how urban planning goes on in most African countries. Okay, so these are the key areas that I mentioned earlier that you should focus on. If you didn't get it, I'm sure somebody has actually typed it and or somebody has already written them. So I will share with you, or after the class, late in the night, I'll share with you so that you all have access to it. Okay. Thank you. I think
that's better you share it after class.
Okay, sure. If I forget, you can send me personal message. I mean, I am preparing for other papers too, but I'll surely come online and see some of these messages and I'll update it. So in the absence of any concern or any person, let's start teaching. Please, are we good? Can you all hear me? If you're having...
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, sure. So I'll share my screen. Okay, so I'm back. Let's continue. So let me quickly go through this one. The Accra Positive projects. Whether you like it or yes, there's a question here. Yes. So please pay attention and look at how you're going to do it. Now, no matter the kind of question they will ask you, please give a brief account of the Accra Positive project. So if they tell you to, let's say, identify some challenges that the Accra Positive project poses or they are experiencing or they will experience, similar thing. Take your time, give a little account or any knowledge about the project that you know before you go and tackle the main question. And it's not only for this topic, any other topic. They want you to look at least into a little part of introduction, 3 to 4 lines or 3 to 4, 5 lines, explaining what the project means before you go ahead and tackle and if the question comes with only challenges, I already mentioned last semester when I was teaching, if the question comes with challenges, suggest some solution, even though there was no solution that was said. There was no question that was said, suggest solution. But since the question mentioned challenges, it's good at the end, you highlight some, should I say, ways that we can address the challenge. Please, are we with me? Are you with me? So it's good that as a student, you don't limit yourself to the question that they give to you only. I mean, you're in a university level 400, we expect you to grow wings and then be a write an essay like a university student, not at a level 100 students. Okay, so let me go through apply positive projects. Who doesn't, how many of you know Accra very well? Some of you are born in Accra. Some of you, if not for university, you wouldn't have come to Accra. You are lucky to be here. And it's a privilege that you come to CC. It's good. At least you've traveled smooth. Yes. Some of you are from very remote areas. Some of you don't know where we are going to discuss at all. So let me describe where we are going to discuss. So those of you who have gone to cycle before, or if you've used this road, the Legon Medina stretch, that's where it's 37 spanner. You see that road. Now, when you get to a particular place and you're using church, or even if you're using your own private car or taxi, there's a particular area called the airport zone. Okay, yes. So if you look at the left side of it, there are a lot of high buildings over there. In fact, they are huge mansions. And the place, when you get there in the night, it's more attractive than even in the day. Okay. They are more attractive than even in the day. So those areas are what we are focusing on. Okay. So before I focus on this, I want you to look at some buildings at that place. So some buildings that you can identify. We have hotels, we have banks. Some of you are living over there. Some of you have, I mean, it's a luxury zone. So if you don't have money, don't go there. Some of you, I know you are living there. When you go to the area, we have hospitals, we have how do you call it? We have hotels, we have banks, we have a lot of almost any corporate affair or any corporate institution has a branch over there. Okay, so you're going to look at why it was built. Why is it that they built with that part of Accra? Why some achievements or some things are done for Ghana or done for Accra itself. Then we'll look at some challenges. So 3 areas, and we are done. 1, the questions will cut across these 3 areas, any of them. So 1, reasons or motivation behind it. Then we look at the possible outcomes or achievements. If those motivations or those reasons were achieved, some were achieved, some were not achieved. The last one, we look at the challenges that it possesses. Okay. Because they cannot hear me. Okay. So let's continue. So before we continue, I want to talk about I want to talk a little about the Accra Positive projects. Without going to the slide, I mean, you should have it up here a little. You understand? Yes. Yeah, you have a question? Yes, Lindsay.
I wanted to, so you spoke about the motivation, the achievement, and the challenges. Don't you think there could be something like maybe solutions, propose some solutions to the challenges?
Yes, I think you just joined. So what I said earlier was that if they ask you to mention challenges, you go ahead and address those challenges you mentioned. So if the question if you mention, once you mention challenges, after you've done the challenges itself, suggest some solutions. Okay, that's what I said. Maybe you join later or when I was saying that one, you couldn't hear, but it's good you got it back. Please, when you go and they ask you to highlight some challenges, when you highlighted some challenges, remember that Barrister said you have to suggest a solution to the challenges. Don't just leave it as it is. Okay, Lindsay, thank you. Please, any other question? So that I continue. Okay, no question. So let's continue. So let's look at little background about the Accra Positive project. Now, the Accra Positive project is located at the vicinity of the airport. Vicinity means once you get out of the airport, that's the first area you meet. So those people who have never entered airport before, we're talking about Kotoka International Airport. Okay, we have only 2 international airports. The Tamale, I don't know whether Tamale is an international, but it's not an international airport. We have the Kotoka, we have Kumasi. Kotoka is the one we're talking about now. Once you get out of Kotoka International Airport, the first buildings or the first zone that you meet is what you're looking at, the Accra Airport City project. And it was built attached to the whole of Kotoka International Airport to serve a particular purpose. And in this lecture, I hope we find them. Okay. So in 1990, the idea was conceived in 1990. Okay, the idea was conceived in 1990. And they wanted to build so many things attached to the airport city, to the airport to serve some purposes. Okay, I think by then, Rawlings was in power. Rawlings, former Rawlings, J.J. Rawlings, he was the one who was in power. So he actually brought all these ideas that let's build the airport city project. And before you talk about anything, please talk about the location. So where can we find the airport city? The airport city is located in, is it La Dadibon or La Dikotopon? Okay, La Dadikotopon. La Dadikotopon Municipal Assembly, the Accra Metro. You all know Accra Metro? La Dadikotopon. Please, you can't talk about Accra Airport City without highlighting the geography of it. So at least the lecture will be expecting that you bring in the geography of it. So you have to state it as located at this place, located at the vicinity of the airport, or you can even use the road as a landmark. It's located on, what's the name of that road? I don't know. Is it a Liberation Road or something? I don't really know that road, but I need to highlight all these things. Okay. Okay, Martin, I will speak up. So these actually, before you talk about, I've talked about the geography of it. Now you need to talk about some towers or like some features over there. So what are some of the land or some infrastructures that we are located? We have the Atlantic Towers. We have Marina Mall. We have the National Communication Tower. There you go. Let's see it. And we have the National Communication Towers. It's over there, is quite huge. Before you enter, you need to go through some security checks. The NCA, National Communicating Authority, their towers, that is where it is. We have so many things over there. I've forgotten some of the names. We have Marriott Hotel, we have Atlantic Heights, North Heights, we have Stanbic Bank, Toyota Assemblage. All these are, and most of them are private companies. I don't know if you've seen them. Most of them are private companies. It was as a result of public-private joint partnership. Okay. So when you go to the reasons why it was carried out, you realize why it's a public and private joint partnership. Okay. And also, apart from the location and some of the places of the names and yes, geography, dates, yeah, and then some infrastructures over there. Okay. So beside the airport city project, there were other projects that were supposed to be carried out. But the one that we have achieved a lot is the Accra Airport City project, because that one is located at the center of Accra. So the other city, like the Hope City project, a proposed new satellite city to be built at Pamfam. Those of you know Accra, you know Pamfam. And then the Pre-colonial mixed-use urban development project at OEB. Those of you know Adenta, that's where OEB is. Okay. So the term airport city refers to multinational business agglomeration of property projects at airports, normally located at busy international hubs, where the economy, infrastructure development, and land use activities are centered on the airport. So the key word here is the multinational business agglomeration. So what it means is that those business over there help other business. Anytime you have agglomeration, it's like economies of scale. So the banks over there help probably those at the hotel, they provide other service to, let's say, those who work in other areas. You understand? Agglomeration has got to do with being reliant on each other. Okay. And those projects are normally carried out beside airport because we know airport is a busy town. Those who have been to airport before, those who have traveled before, you know what I'm talking about. And you get to Accra, let's say the terminal, the place is always busy, always, no matter the time. 8 a.m., 12 p.m., even at midnight, the place is still busy. Okay. And if you go to the airport's biopositive project, you have a lot of offices, you have a lot of real estate. Most of them are empty though, because their prices are expensive. Yes. So let's go to our main projects, or our main reasons why our main areas need to focus. So before we talk about any question that will bring, please look at some of these things when it was started, some things over there from apartments, it was attached to Kotoka and all that. You need to include all this. So notable edifices include the NCA Tower, I was mentioned, Marina Mall, Holiday Inn Hotel. Some of you know the Marriott Hotel, One Airport Square Building, Silver Star Tower, and Manet Tower. So those of you who came to class, I think lecture, show the video or something. So for sure, if you don't know Accra, you can text me personally. I'll take you a tour around one day. Okay. I won't take you anything. It's free of charge. So that you know a little bit Accra. Some of you, all you know is your hometown in Lagos. Then you go to your hometown. You don't know Accra. So these are all. So there's Net Emporium. Haven't you seen this building when you're traveling? Some of you don't know what I'm talking about, but this is a real Accra. It's the most beautiful part of this Accra. The first time, yeah, this is one of the Toyota assembly doors. Yes. Okay. It's a Manet Towers. Yeah, Marriott Hotel. Okay. Yes, I was right. It is bounded by the west by the Liberation Road. So if you are traveling from here to Circle or 37, the Liberation Road, and it is located at Lade Kotopon Municipal Assembly. Please memorize it. I'm not a gun, so I'm not like Lade Kotopon, whatever. Lade Kotopon Municipal Assembly, the Greater Accra Municipal Area. And the whole project is, I think, 29 floors with 40.8 acres, approximately 41 acres. So the agreement on this land is that, listen to this, Ghana Airport, GACS stands for Ghana Airport Company Limited. This is very GACS. Ghana Airport Company Limited. They took it from Land Commission. They are all government institutions. And the airport itself is not private. I don't know whether they've sold Kotoka to foreign companies, but they are all government institutions. So they took it from government as 99 years. Now, every land in Ghana shouldn't exceed 100 years. The maximum they can give to you is 99 years. After 99 years, the land does not belong to you again. But what we did was that this project, if you're a private company and you are interested, they give it to you for 45 years. So if you see any building over there, those Toyota people, Toyota buildings, those are the ABSA. I know of CBG, Consolidated Bank. I know of Fidelity Bank. I know of Stanbic Bank. I know of Atlantic. I know those things. So I know on all those hotels, they can use a place for only 45 years. They have to make their profits within 45 years. After 45 years, the government will take their land back, including the properties on the land and all that. And even within these 45 years, every time they have to come back and renew contracts. And the renewal of contract comes with additional costs beside the normal taxes you pay. So you can imagine how much government is cashing out. And the whole project over there is 70% complete. So those of you who use that stretch, Sometimes we do when I sit down, they'll be building some apartments, and they are not normally small buildings. So they are very huge buildings. Yes. So let's quickly go to the reasons behind the AAC plan. So before you go ahead with any question, please make sure you tackle the introductory parts. You can't remember everything, but at least start on some key areas. You try with the location where it is from, with some infrastructures on it, the year it was conceived, and other important information. Okay. Now let's go to why did we carry out the AAC or Accra Airport City project? Why was it carried out? Please, any question? Any question? Okay, no question. Okay, thank you. We thank God we all understand it. Then let's continue. Please, after this session, the meeting won't end because I said I've already paid for this one. So we are going to hold a almost 2 hour session, and I'm done. I'll upload the video on YouTube. So if you don't understand anything, you tackle it. I'm hoping I will go through some past questions, or at least these are the past questions that will come. So there is no need to go even. Let's look at one past question that is coming. Let's look at the reasons for AAC planning. Why was it carried out? Okay. Have you heard about one? Intended to be part of Ghana's Gateway program. Have you heard about Ghana being gateway to Africa? Yes. So they wanted to establish that glory. Ghana is a gateway to Africa, and to boost the nation's competitive profile. So because they wanted to establish the fact that Ghana is the gateway to Africa, so of course we need to get that kind of standard infrastructures. They had to carry out the AAC project. Okay, so to boost the nation profile, when somebody comes to Ghana, oh, this is Ghana, and he sees those short buildings, the respect in someone. But when he comes to see huge apartments, he sees the NCA tower, at least, even though it may not be that tall, but there's glory in it than short buildings. So it wanted to kind of give that kind of recognition. You understand? Yes. The second one is to help the KIA. That's why we said it's located at the vicinity of the KIA. KIA, Kotoka International Airport. Kotoka International Airport. Kotoka International Airport. It was to help Kotoka International Airport achieve its vision of becoming the hub for the West African sub-region. So they wanted to make sure that, okay, if Kotoka is an airport, then let's do something that will make Kotoka get to that global level standard, so that it become a hub or it become a place where everybody can come. Now, when you come, it can provide you with the services that you want. The services include conference rooms, offices. It gives you have access to hotels, you have access to banks and everything that you want. You don't have to travel a long distance before you land yourself in any of these things. Okay. Another point, please, are you writing these points? They will come. Another point, as government allocation for budget aviation industry becomes inadequate, the airport authority, so government has allocated a special budget to carry out the whole of KIA. KIA is Kotoka International Airport. It's in Accra, it's not in Kumasi. KIA there's a budget for it. And with time, they realized that the budget was not enough. So that land over there belongs to the, how do you call it, KIA. So they had to give it out to private firms. That's what they gave it to. So most of these companies found at the airport city, they are all private companies. They gave it to them so that they can gain money. So you can see the agreement that went 45 years, and every 10 years you need to come and renew contracts. Okay. So the budget was not enough. That was another point. To improve the infrastructure base of airports, beautify Accra, create employment. This one is a different point on this one. Please make it different. Okay. If you are explaining your points, this should be a different point from this one. Okay. To improve the infrastructure base of Accra and make Accra beautiful, of the airports and make Accra beautiful. That is one point. To create employment could also be another point. Okay. So recently, over the past year, the only beautiful place in Accra were some parts of Tema, where again, East Legon, and Siena East Legon recently. and then Accra Central, where we have Kolebu, those of you know the place, Accra Metro, where you have the Supreme Court. Those places too were nice. Okay. So that was the airport city was carried out so that we can get another beautified part of Accra, another Accra that we can boast about. You get it. Another point was to create employment. This point, I said separate it from to create employment and attract foreign investors. Separate it from this main point. It's a point on its own. Okay. To create employment now, when the whole thing was built, you could have security men. Please, and let me add this thing. You are explaining them, please specify with examples. Explain each point with examples. Let me add it again. Okay. So the government displeasure about use of prime space. So look at this side, this picture that you are seeing. Look at this picture you're seeing. So this part is of Greater Accra was where the airport city project was carried out. In 1990, in the 1990s, yes, all this place was prime land. Prime land is like empty space. But now when you get there, the place is very, very beautiful. So this was Accra some years ago. And this is Accra now. Okay. It's the same place. So you can see how beautiful the place has become. Yeah. So those of you who don't know, this is a good picture and a good area picture of what you're discussing. Also, to help decongest the central business districts, okay, of Accra. Accra was congested. Accra Central, when you say Accra, you mean Accra Central. The whole place was congested. Everybody wants to do anything, wants to go to Accra Central. So we wanted to create another place that could serve the same purpose. That is equilibrate, or that equilibrate to the urban population growth. Population growth of Accra was increasing. So we can't put pressure on at one place. We need to locate new places. So to provide a density of development, to demonstrate more efficient land use, and an effort at infilling and densification in Accra. Okay, they wanted to show how we can utilize the land. Now, mind you, when you put up buildings there, that goes into pay or total building, you are utilizing the land more than when you build those short buildings. Well, with Legon here, Legon our buildings are short. CBD is Central Business District. CBD, Central Business District. Talking about Accra.
Okay, thank you.
The meeting is full. So this one is planning approaches or planning strategies. So this one has got to do with individuals and bodies who were involved and all that. The strategies that we have to develop and all that. So planning scheme developed under the supervision of, this is town and country planning development. I know of town and country planning, TCP, town and country planning development. Okay. JCAC, this is Ghana Contractors Association Council. So they were all parts, and they placed demand that we need a lot of contractors. This one is Ghana Airport Company Limited and other stakeholders. So these were bodies who were actually involved in all these airport projects. Okay. The airport concept was constructed as part of an entrepreneurial governance strategy in Africa. Given the neoliberal restructuring policy of the government, the project involved the creation of liberalized environments where private participation was to be encouraged. So this could be another reason why it was carried out. So to actually involve more of the private companies. So you go to airport here, most of these companies, most of the banks are not for government. They give it out, they auction it, you come, you meet the agreement, and you take the place. Okay. Let's go to the project outcome. we want to know if the objectives or the reasons we achieved. We already discussed that it was to decongest central business of Accra, it was to create employment, it was to do all that. Let's see here if those objectives that we discussed. So you don't have to remember this and that are they are kind of correlated. You understand? If you're able to know the objectives, then you analyze whether these objectives were achieved. The objectives are what I discussed earlier, the reasons. Okay. Now these are the outcome. The outcome is the end result. Was it achieved? No, this was achieved, this was not achieved. So you could target some of them were achieved. And we will see that we mentioned some of them here. Okay. Okay. So so people enjoyed many facilities and experiences at the airport city without going to the central business district. Okay, so people found that the project outcome. One outcome is that it's created another way that people could enjoy facilities without going to the central business of Accra. So it's created another avenue. Please, are you writing them? What the lecturer doesn't like is for you to copy everything you put it for them. They don't really like it. They hate it. So no matter how you learn it, please, this is not maths. This is more or less a social course. So it's good you learn, understand, and present it in your own format. That buys into the understanding of what you were taught. You can't copy it. Some of you are eating baba. That's why you can learn. Just understand what you're learning. And you go and write it. You will get your A. Okay. AAC provides support for KIA. So it came to accomplish its mission of providing support for KIA, providing required ancillary infrastructure, including hotels with conference room facilities and entertainment centers. So it came to fulfill the purpose of supporting the airports. So you mentioned some of them. Most of these people, the lecturer even said when Obama came here, there was that kind of, the place that was given to him was the airport. So you could imagine how well it was built, right? Yes. So it came to serve its purpose of creating another ancillary for all, providing the support for KI, simply put. So the architectural elegance of high-rising buildings marks the transformation and modernization of Accra urban landscape. So should I say it beautified Accra, okay, or it transformed Accra's landscape? As far as it was only Kolebu side, the one on that AF Kakao. Like when you go to where we have Kolebu, we have Accra Metro, we have what again? Bank of Ghana, we have the Judicial Council where we have the Supreme Court. Those were the only very nice places in Accra. Okay, but because of the AAC project, it actually created another beautified side of Accra. If you see that when we were talking about the vision or the objectives, no, the motivations are the same as the outcomes. The motivation looks at the fact that it looks at the target you have to achieve. The outcome look at what was achieved out of the motivations. The motivations like reasons. Okay. Expanding the corporate geography of Accra. That's another one. Expanding it. Corporate geography means that it created another place where we could run business. You understand? It created another place where we could bank, where we could enjoy facilities and all that. Expanding the economic activities of KI. When you go to the airport, inside the airport, you have restaurants, you have hotels inside the airport. The Accra Airport City, we just came to add up. Okay, we have conferences even inside the airport, but this thing came to add up. Okay, attracted investors and financial capital inflows, and it's true. If somebody says that, okay, this is part of Accra, then I believe that it will work. So we have a lot of real estate people who are coming there, attracted investors. Now you can see that these outcomes were mentioned objectives. Have you seen it? They are almost the same, but they are not the same. You are explaining the outcome, look at what has been achieved or what has been achieved. The motivation look at what it aimed to achieve or what it wanted to achieve. So the outcome is an evidence of the fact that the motivation has been achieved. Okay. It created employment opportunities. Okay. It created employment not only for those in the lab that they could perform municipal assembly, but those around, including those in around East Legon and all that. I mean, these are all, the islands, visitors and business are happy. So, as a airport residential, people to give them that kind of luxury lifestyle. Okay. People respect you. That kind of recognition, the our parts. Okay, let's continue. Let's go to the challenges. Some of the challenges. What are the challenges that this airport city project actually looked at? So I have only 5 challenges. I want you to, they are all not here. But I want you to take your book and pen and write them. One of them is narrow roads and inadequate pedestrian walkways. That's one of them. Okay. Narrow roads and inadequate pedestrian walkways. They are all parts, and it's true. When you're getting out of Accra, the road is only one way, one counts out to the airport. So if you don't know the airport, I said text me, I'll take you to the place. I'll let you go and see this. I'll take you to. Some of you don't know terminal. I understand you probably know going to meet somebody if not or not, but it's good as a Ghanaian who has come to University of Ghana to explore those areas. So as a geography student. Okay. Another point is traffic congestion. Traffic congestion causing traffic. So you can see that sometimes traffic, those areas, especially when we are hosting programs, when we are hosting big men, it causes a lot of traffic because the roads are small. The roads small leads to traffic congestion, but the traffic congestion is a point on it. Okay. Third point, many commercial buildings are not fully occupied. Many officials, many commercial buildings, or some of the buildings that were planned or that had been built are not fully occupied. Another point is delay in construction. Delay in construction or operations in some of them. Please, are you writing them? And then another one is taxes. Let me go. I think it is down here. High taxes and utility tariffs. High taxes. So before you can come and argue whether the way the kind of government taxes that you be paying is not easy. Okay. High taxes. Then high cost of renting the place or usage of the place. Because a lot of people don't want, the local people don't want, unless international people who are ignorant, who don't know anything. They are only people who go out there. Please, how many points you have? How many challenges have I mentioned? Those of you writing. How many points? Oh, can they hear me at all?
4.
You have only 4 points.
6.
Five. Okay.
7.
So 8. 7. So I already said, if you mention some of these challenges, please go ahead and look at the addressing these two. So let me touch on how can you address it. We can address it by focusing on, let's say, another project. I mean, beside the archive policy project, we should carry out another project or continue some of the projects like the Hope City project that you mentioned earlier. Remember the Hope City project at From. We should also focus on that. Government should continue or build another airport city somewhere else, right, to ease the pressure.
It's caught me by surprise.
Okay. Another point we can raise about this addressing the challenge is to speed up government projects. Okay. Speed up the project that are carried out. Speed up means that there are so many things, bureaucracy that you have to go through. You have to go and see the chief, you have to go and see government, you have to go and see the next person or a metro before you could even go with things. So the bureaucracy is part. So these and more challenge ways you can address it. and it comes there. When you're addressing them, please look at the individual challenges and address them. So if you mention high taxes and tariffs, the government should give local people or companies or reduce the tax burden for them. Your problem you're addressing shouldn't be something different from the challenges you have mentioned here. Okay, good. Please, any question? You're done with Accra Positive project. Any question? So one of these questions will. Yes. Any question? Any question?
No.
Okay, sure. So if there's no question, let's continue. Or you are tired? My God.
Let's go.
Okay. So after this, so in summary, we discussed the Accra Positive project. What we did was that we discussed a brief history where it evolved from the kind of individuals or bodies who were involved, okay, and some infrastructure, should I say, infrastructures over there. Okay, we narrow it down to the objectives or why was it carried out. Where we identified that to decongest central business of Accra, they wanted to improve the, should I say, the image of Ghana and make it to improve the competitive profile of Ghana. We want to attach a special place to KIA so that it could be as a center for international hub and hosting of programs. We also discussed that the thing was carried out because the aviation industry wanted enough money to expand. So these are some of the reasons why we discussed. We narrow it down to whether these objectives were achieved, and some of them were true. It created employment, it attracted investors, it actually decongested parts of Accra or eased pressure in the central business of Accra. Then we narrow it down to some of the challenges that we are likely to face. And some of them, because the roads are narrow, we have few parking slots which lead to traffic congestion, high taxes, inadequate funding, or delays in project and others. So these are some of the things that we discussed. And I'm hoping that when any question comes under this one, you remember my voice and be able to do it. Amen. Yes, Lindsay.
Yeah, quick one. So for something like the narrow roads and inadequate pedestrian walkways, okay.
Okay.
I'm thinking if we are thinking of a solution,
Okay.
this place has already been developed, like or almost developed, and
Okay.
buildings have been put up. Opening up the road will be a difficulty. So what then will be the right solution for that particular challenge?
So some places we can take on, there will those places that congest and lot of traffic. Anytime you already build, from what I've known, if you are planning and you already have huge buildings around a road that's experiencing a lot of traffic, what to do is that you do what you call overhead. Okay, so government can carry out overheads around these places. Those places that are congested, there will be the roads. If you go to some, as the airport second or two, in the evenings, the places are kind of congested, so they can build up overheads to ease movement. That's it.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Please, any other question? Okay. Now I'm happy to tackle 3 questions, 3 areas today. So let me go to the next area, which is not that difficult. Are we making notes? Who is not making notes?
We are making notes.
Okay. So let me quickly touch on this one. Tomorrow we are going to meet. I hope you're aware. Yeah, tomorrow when we meet, I'll focus on let's say lecture 1 to 3. Some areas that to come. We discuss that one. and then we discussed the urban development. But today, what I'm going to do last hour is to discuss urban development in the pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial. A very brief introduction of that. When I'm done, I'll go to the planning methodologies. Then I close for the day. Okay. So by 9:30, 9:40, I'll finish. So hold on a little. Don't give up yet. Okay. So how many of you have been to a typical village? Typical village. I mean, a place where, how many of you have been to a homestead before? A homestead is a village with only one town. It's only one building. It's only one building. Okay. So in the olden days, even there was no kind of traditional planning, or there was no planning. Okay. But most of the things were done by what you call the government. So we say government, the chiefs. So the chief will give order that these places are located for Bola. So when you go to a village, this is where we have been for every place where we go and dump our refuse. This place is designated for Deba or funerals. So when you go to a village, you have a particular place that they do village, everybody who are one way. They have a place where they do this for park. You go to any village, they have a park. They have a place where this is a place for farming, which is quite far from normally where people live. And we have a place for settlements or where the people will live. So these were all things that happened pre-colonially, and there was no urban planning. So people were following orders, not planning. I repeat, people were following orders, meaning that the traditional leaders were making orders and people will follow. So a higher baller, young or let's show the refugees and there. Anybody will have to follow. So there was formally unplanned but meaningfully ordered physical structure to settlement, largely respecting traditionally established arrangements, ways of life. Yes. So there was nothing like formally planting. Okay. And what's when it comes to settlements, the settlements differ from the kind of community you live in. Okay. So that's why I mentioned activities had their place, markets, and markets were religious, school, farm, communal assembly places, playgrounds, roads and footpaths and all that. So all these parts were ordered, they were not planned. Okay, and depending on the community that you find yourself, this is pre-colonial before we even colonized. That was when the chiefs were ruling. And depending on the community that you find yourself, that's where you know whether the settlement will be nucleated, it will be dispersed, or it will be linear. Please, I repeat, depending on the community that you find yourself, that's when it will say whether the whole planning pattern will be nucleated, it will be linear or dispersed. Okay. But most of them were nucleated and they were dispersed because where you want is where you build your land. As I say earlier, but in our current generation, those of you who have done service as land commissioner, how you can do and all that, you know how we go around this. You can't just get up and go and protect your people everywhere. You need to go and see town planning people who come and look at where you want to locate your building, and then they know that okay, this place is good. This place is not waterways. Okay, so that before colonial time, this was what was happening. Okay. Okay, so before colonial, that's it for pre-colonial. Let's go to the colonial. Colonial period. Now, colonial period is where we were colonized, where they came to bring chewing gum and toffee for our good from our old people. Okay, so most of the buildings that we are seeing in Ghana now, most of the buildings, even though now there's that kind of architectural psychology or architectural designs that has improved it. Most of the buildings that we are seeing now is traced from colonial rule. Now, if you go to your typical house, go to most of the typical home, what do we find? Chamber and hall, toilets, kitchen, restroom, storeroom. No, every house, every complete house has this. And it is being traced from what the colonial people. we learned from them. So the way the Britain were building up their buildings, France, Belgium, Portugal, that is when they came to the African countries or developing countries, they came to implement similar ideas. So we also learned from them. Okay, these planning systems were largely aimed at controlling development of settlements, land use, and the construction of buildings in the colonies. So they realized that the local people were not following orders. So they brought planning so that you could know that, okay, nobody will waste land. Which means that now at all, yes, somebody can just build in water with people are building anyhow. So the white people realized this, they brought land management system, settlement planning, and all that. Okay. The key objective of these planning systems was to accommodate the settlement of indigenous people in colonial towns to meet the demand for cheap labor in the mining and manufacturing sector. So one of the objectives why they carried out these plans too, so they can have access to that. Okay, these people live within this community. And you go back here, you will get most of them over there. They wanted to somehow mobilize them or convert them at one place. So they said, carry out planning. When you build yours, as soon as you also come and build his behind yours, as soon as you come and build, so that we can have road, we can have it in order. But in a way, they wanted to put them at one place so that we could get them for any kind of cheap labor they want. Racially segregated settlement under guise of health and sanitation concerns. So they, even though they were doing that, but they were not letting the white people get closer to them. So the white people are located at one place, the black people too are located at one place. Okay. So the main urban planning activities included road improvements, slum clearance, and housing. So road, what I'm saying is roads. Slum clearance. But clearance means you can't build anyhow. Before you put up building, you need to follow this. And housing. Housing has got to do with the kind of apartments or the nature of it. So if you look at the olden days, what they were doing was normally they sit down. I don't know how I would describe it in English. The mad house. Those of you have seen the mad house before. That was the main, but it's why people introduce mad house that they can mold into blocks. And gradually have a cement blocks. So we have seen mad house that has been built with cement block. A mad house that has been built with cement. Okay, they lay blocks and they put it up. I've seen before. Introduction of building codes and town and country planning legislation. Introduction of great iron model for town layout. So there was town layout. Those of you who have seen a town layout plan before, what I said that before you buy the land. Yeah, I saw land. So before you buy the land, they will show you the pattern of the whole place. The neighbor share, those who are closer to you, those who are closer to you, at least 15 kilometers away. Okay. They show you all the land, where your land is located and all that. It was the white people who brought all those things. Okay. Land uses were restricted to housing and local stores to protect the interests of colonial and white business in the historic core areas. So you can see that some of the key areas were mostly occupied by the white people. Cape Coast, Takrady, the big towns, the white people conquered all of them. And those areas that are of less relevance, they gave it to the black people. Okay. Planning was of a limited relevance in rural areas. So the villages there were not really focused. They were focusing on building the cities. Cape Coast, Accra, Takrady, Kumasi, the southern parts. Yes. So basically, this was how planning was carried out during the colonial time. That was where they started rules, construction, land management, proper ways of putting up buildings. Even that was when building codes, I mean, nature of building. We have a height. You have to build your building up to this height. That was when all those things were brought in. Okay. Then let's quickly go to the planning process in post-colonial. Post-colonial has got to do with now. So now post-colonial or modern. And in the modern world, what do we see? And if you were listening very well, I said most of the buildings we are seeing now, they were traced from colonial time So you could see that the kind of building we have been putting now, chamber, and every building has toilets, everybody has kitchen, everybody has hall, people who sleep, who sit down and watch TV and all that. You get it? So there was that kind of what we are seeing now is not different from what the colonial people thought. Okay, in terms of development with the countries such as Tanzania attempt to formulate indigenous practices. So as for Tanzania, they were saying they focus on their practices, but most of the colonies are colonized. Most of the colonies stick to what their colonial masters taught them. Okay. So with the majority of the population rooted in rural area, the emphasis was on rural planning as a special manifestation. Okay. In urban settlement, town and country planning frameworks were retained. The planning systems and law introduced in the colonial era therefore remained entrenched in the post-independence and for the current period. So those laws, those planning systems that the white people initiated, all those things were maintained in the past. Okay, we are still in post-colonial. I'm talking about now. Now, let's go to our modern world now. Okay. Most of the buildings we are seeing, 2 bedrooms, kitchen and toilets, 1 single bedroom, chamber and hall. That all those we are seeing because they are all, we can trace them from UK, the US. The UK and the US, they were doing those buildings. Those who have been to UK and those who have been to those who have gone outside. Some of you, all you know is Legon, you don't even know Accra, all you know is here. Let's say the page village. All you need from here to maybe Kapa, from here to maybe Wistia, from here to maybe Ho, that's all you know. You don't know any place. But if you go to UK, most of the apartments, but the way they put their buildings is not really different from Ghana here. 2 bedrooms, non-layered. Yes. So town and country planning ordinances or laws inherited from the Britain are still in place in a significant number of countries. So those things that the colonial masters can teach us, how you put our buildings, the height you have to go, the length you have to go, the iron rods, the planning, how big the room should be. All those things are still maintained. Okay, where you have to locate rules, how you have to do rules, 2 comes, 2 goes, 3 comes, 2, 3 goes. All these were copied, not from. We didn't bring these ideas, we copied them from colonial. So they can ask you in the exams, give a historical account about urban development pre-colonial, before colonial, colonial and post-colonial. And you have to talk about all these things, and it's not difficult. Development control, especially in English-speaking countries, was continuing under town and country ordinances. So when the British were here, they implemented what we call town and country ordinances, where we've now molded into town and country planning. That's what, for this example, a typical here is Senegal. Okay. If you go to some part of UK, the way they put up their building, the same thing. The structures of the UK, the same thing, similar things, similar designs. We copied it from them. Okay. So that is it for now. So if they ask you to give a historical account of urban development in the post-colonial, colonial and pre-colonial, you start from the post-colonial, start from the pre-colonial, where it was ruled by chiefs or kingship. They were given order. Okay, the kings were located. This place is for this is places for that, this place the marketplace, higher bumper, higher say. Okay. There was no orderliness. But when we come to colonial is where these white people brought in what they were doing in their houses. Some of them built castles similar to what they own in their hometowns. Okay, so they implemented some of the town and country ordinances. They implemented the building codes, rural, urban development plans, where we construct rules, land management system. These white people brought everything. That was the colonial era. And modern era, we are still sticking to what the colonial people came to teach us by just adding value to it. So we are just learning from what they left us. And because of technology and new ideas, we are just adding up. But the nature, how tall, the size of the room, and other important features, we are copying from them. So this is basically about it. Now I have to teach one last aspect. Opening room for questions. If you have any question, you can ask me now. After that, I'm going to the planning methodologies. Okay, which has to go to do with positivism and normative. Then we are done for the day. Any question? Any question?
Barrister,
No.
Yes.
please can you send the past thing so that I'll know what we are doing. I'm a bit confused, right?
You just joined. Did you just join?
No, like I know you're talking about the pre-colonial period and then the colonial period. Like I want to know how the question will be framed on that part.
Okay, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, thanks.
So let's look at the planning methodologies. Okay, and we are done. They are all similar to strategies of planning. It's the same thing. Well, which method do you think is the best? We have two schools of thoughts. Okay, so let's look at the last part of today's meeting, and then we go. Don't give up yet. If you go to the examination room, take your time. Some of you, once they give you paper, you start writing. They give you paper, take your question paper, write your points out, write your points down. Okay, write your points down. Some of the points, once you start explaining, if you learn it very well, and if forgotten some will start coming. So if they give you 3 questions, you're supposed to answer 3 questions. I'm going to answer question 1, question 2, question 3. Use 10 to 15 minutes to write down all your points on the question paper. So once you start writing, you don't stop. By the time you stop, you are done. So you have like 45 minutes even ahead of you to even read your work. So some of you, if you're able to answer only question 1, you start now, giddy. The more you write, your minds become weak, or you are thinking, you are applying a lot of energy over there. So your brain becomes weak. So from the start where your brain is fresh, write down all your points before you even go and start the work. But some of you want people to know you are writing. So question 1, once you're able to answer question 1, you start solving on plan how you're going to do your work. Okay, question 1, I'll be able to do it. Question 2, I'll be able to do it. So, and question 5. So I'm doing all of them. Then I turn the back of the sheet and I start writing my points. So question 1, I'm going to write this point, this point, this point. If they said 5, I'll list all my 5. And I go to question 2. If they said 4, I'll list all my 4. And I'll go to my question. And I'll go to my question 5. And I'll go to my question 5. Question 5 is the same thing. I'll list my point. So I'll spend like 10 to 15 minutes to do that. It's not, you see people writing, relax. So once you start, you don't stop. Once you start, you don't stop. Because you already have your point. And your brain never gets tired. If you answer a question before you come and think again, if you don't take care, you won't remember. Okay, this is a clue I'm giving to all of you. So all the best tomorrow. Let's look at the planning methodologies. Okay. So the price of planning. This lecture 7. I'm expecting a question from here. So let's all pay attention. Okay. So here we are going to understand 2 schools of thoughts. 2 schools of thoughts. When we say planning, okay, let's take the aquatic project that we just did. It's a whole planning project. Now, if you're doing it, some people think that no, we should go by scientific approach. scientific, those of you who did integrated science, I know all about the integrated science. You have to follow those scientific principles. First, state the problem, hypothesis, like normal one. You have to follow those scientific process. You need to do some estimations, calculations, and all that. That's one school of thought. Another school of thought says that no. Every society differs. So every community that you go, depending on how they do their things, you need to align and understand ways they do their things. So the kind of planning you can carry out in Nigeria will be different from the kind of planning you carry out in Ghana. So it's good to take views and the values into consideration before you implement any plan. You get it? So out of it, we are going to have two schools of thought. Another thing, planning should be mathematical, or should I say mechanical. Another thing, planning should be theoretical, or should be more of qualitative. So let me use qualitative and quantitative. But I could say use maths and science. But I could say that you use social life and in the human part. Is that with me? So one of them is focusing on the humanistic level, and that one is focusing on the positive level. Please, are we on track? I want you to get it first so that once you start, you don't get confused. So you're going to analyze two schools of thoughts. And one school of thought say, yes, we can carry out a quite positive project. But we say the maths become calculations. In the next future, this is how the place will look like. So that the rules will be narrow. What estimation should we do? What kind of people are we expecting that within the next 50 years? How well are we populated? Okay. Now, the humanistic approach wants to come and say, okay, no, let's look at, if you want to carry out the project, you need to involve the people. So let's look at people. How many, you ask those, how many children do you think are going to give birth to? On average, you can say 2 towards it, then you can make conclusions. So you can carry out your plan. You understand? So these are the schools of thought. Another goes mathematical way, another goes theoretical way. So let's start. So methodology is of central importance to any professional discipline. And those of you who are doing projects and long essay, it's good you state your method. Some of you are doing projects and long essay, so you state where you're going, whether your work is being quantitative or quantitative. You understand? It's good. It's not only in planning, even in projects that you do, whether it is a written project or it is a carried out project. Okay. So methodology is of central importance to any professional discipline. Methodology is defined as a system of broad disciplines or rules from which specific methods or procedures will be derived to interpret or solve different problems within the scope of a particular discipline. Blah, 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 blah. So there are two approaches or methodologies to planning based on broad philosophical framework. So these are the two methods. Just to one, the first one is what I've highlighted. Okay, the positivist, the logical positivism approach. Okay, and the second one has got to do with the normative or humanistic approach. That's the second one. So positivism and then humanistic approach.
Yes.
They can't tell me everything. When I woke up today, I did it.
Yes. So planning involves the use of knowledge, information to do with societal problems. So let me quickly go to the various planning so that we can wrap things up early. So the first one is the positivism. Now, what's the positivism? It was originated from French philosophers, by this, from French philosopher called Auguste Comte, 1798 to 1857, who believed in the supremacy of science as the only method of investigation. So Auguste Comte say the only way we can develop any plan, okay, or we can achieve any plan that we have put on paper is through science. meaning that we use the scientific principles, the scientific measurements. If it is 5 kilometers, everywhere you go with 5 kilometers. Okay. Okay, so positivism is also referred to as the scientific method. So that's the difference. So one is more scientific, and one is humanistic, or one is more social related. So this one involves the use of quantitative techniques in social sciences as an extension from natural sciences. What are natural sciences? Biology, physical, biology, physics, physical, biology, physics, and what again, chemistry. Those are the what for the natural sciences. What you're doing, economics, geography, psychology, history, all those are what you call social sciences. And because geography is a social science, what they do is that they have to borrow those mathematics from the biology and elective maths and those things and bring it here for the application. Okay. So it involves making empirical measurement where objects can be observed and measured. So it takes consideration measurements. Okay. Measurements of objects. It aims to generate objective explanation and prediction for social engineering and social control. Okay. Main objective of this approach is to view the world as it is. Please understand why this statement. So it view the world as it is. It view the world as without any change. This is how the world is. This is how we tested and proved. Okay. The other one that we study, which is the humanistic approach, view the world as it ought to be. As it ought to be. But this one sees the world as it is. It's saying it is like a fact. Okay, let me put it that way. It's a fact. It view the world as it is. Not as it ought to be. As ought to be is the other one we are next to study, the humanistic approach. And to view the world as it is to view the world like facts. Okay. They don't believe in ideologies like values like humility, respect, what are some of the values? Beliefs, dreams, and all. They don't believe in those things. This is what you tested. This is the proof. Let's do it. That's what they do. So planning theory is largely biased toward the scientific paradigm or positivist. So this is more or less each other paradigm. Scientific paradigm, sorry. So this is more related with sciences or science. So anything that they do has relates to scientific knowledge. Okay. This means that when planets are dealing with social phenomena, they tend to be calculating. So they even calculate how anything that you do, they'll calculate. Not assume or not believe the things as it is. So if you are thinking, they even calculate how you're thinking. If I don't know what the values that, so but they even calculate values. They don't really believe in it, but they calculate anything that has got to do with what they do, they calculate. Okay. That's our human PA. You're answering the questions for. They tend to be calculative, systematic, follow standardized procedures, empirical, mean that they heavily rely on verifiable facts. So systematic means that everywhere you go, it's the same thing. So if you look at roads, how you construct roads, the sizes, those of you know how to drive, when you're driving within the size, there's no way, it's very unlikely for you to hit someone, even if you are switching lanes, unless of course you are a first-time driver. We have a measurement for it. And it's across worldwide, everywhere you go, they follow the same measurements. Okay. There is a code that if you are building a story building up to 5 levels, you have the way you have to follow. You have the number of concrete or the cement you have to go into it. And the number of iron rods that you need. They do everything, they calculate it, everything. And it's common everywhere. Everywhere you go, they do the same thing. There's no room for personal values, experiences, beliefs, norms. Everything has a scientific connotation. So they don't believe in, say, okay, this is what we came to meet, so let's believe it. No, this is what we came to meet. This is how we discovered. So this is how it has to be. That is what they believe. They don't believe in the idea that we came to meet it, so let's follow. Like just like we come to school. We come to school to chew and pass and go. The scientists will prove you wrong. That this is what education defines in a different way. But in Ghana here, education is stated that you have to go to school and pass. But the science will tell you no, education is what you have learned while you were in school. After you've done with schooling, okay, that's education. And you are done with school, what you remember is the real education, or what you're learning now. So when you're done with school and you start remembering all the things you learned, that was the real education, or that was the things you were taught. Yes. In planning this course to be scientific simply means to apply rational thinking. We all know rational thinking. They think like a normal human being. They are not like economists where they make assumptions. They think as it is. They don't make any assumptions. The positivist paradigm holds that planning is largely an apolitical activity rather than a political activity. So they don't believe that planning should be political because, of course, they make it political to be biased towards a particular people. Okay, so they don't believe in the fact that planning should be political. To be apolitical is the inverse of political. The paradigm identifies the planner and its object of study. Here, social phenomena is defined or viewed as an object. I mean, the planner is detached from the society. Total objectivity can only be achieved if certain conditions are met. So all these things are calculated. Patience, open-mindedness, reasonable. Okay. It defines planning as a technical activity. Okay. So the positive approach has led to the adoption of functional type of planning at the expense of decentralized planning. What does it mean? It means that the positive has made planning somehow centralized. That put planning into the hands of people. That could be an advantage. So that it's only done at the top and it's being initiated down here. Okay. Which is a system of planning devoid of participation, representation of various interest. So they don't consider any interest. They just bring out their plan and it comes to affect anyone down here. Okay. Advantages of this. What are the advantages? Advantages. One, it is universally accepted, meaning that everywhere you go, you can apply scientific. So if the number of days time you use in contracting with the same thing. In Ghana, UK, the same thing. You go to Nigeria, it's the same thing. It's reliable, meaning that the rate of making a mistake is very low. Okay, because it demands calculations and all that. Objectivity, meaning that it focuses on the specific problems you want to solve. Okay, it focuses on the specific problems that you want to solve. Best alternative chosen, because it involves a lot of processes. Okay, because it involves a lot of processes, it helps us arrive at the best solution. We can ask you to explain from the challenge, the advantages and disadvantages. So universally accepted, reliable, is objective, the best alternative, and allows systematic analysis which generates new ideas. So because of how systematic it is, in the course of planning, new ideas will come in. Okay. But what are some of the disadvantages? Some of the disadvantages include, in planning, we have what we call non-quantifiable aspects. And quantifiable aspect is that there's no ways about math and science. You have to come down to the people, ask them questions, let them know where you could know their issues and you try to address them. But if you sit in your office and calculate it mathematically, you may get it wrong. That's in by non-quantifiable aspects. The approach is rigid and mechanistic. Means that it goes through a lot of procedures, it goes through a lot of steps. Okay, so it makes it difficult. Does not allow participation and representation of various interests. meaning the people are not involved. Like I said, it is planned at the top and initiated down here. We don't even look at the people. We don't come down to people. Mind you, this plan goes through scientific process and it does not consider people around. It only follows its scientific processes. So all you see is that they've implemented it. But a good planning there should blend it too. That's what how I see. A good planning should blend it too. Okay. Now let's go to the normative. Now before we go to normative, let me quickly summarize the positive. Initially, when I started, I mentioned that the methodologies of planning are ways that we go to planning. And there's two schools of thoughts. Okay. From Auguste Comte. Auguste Comte said every planning should be scientific or it should be positive, meaning that we have to follow some scientific process. Meaning that planning has to be quantifiable. Planning has to go through the scientific process. It should not consider values or norms or beliefs. Okay, everything that we do in the course of the planning should be calculated. That is the positive approach. Now we look at some advantages. And we said it's true. When you do that, universally, they're going to accept it. Because everywhere you go, 5 kilometers, 5 kilometers everywhere. Okay, if it is 27 degrees Celsius as normal temperature human, but everywhere you go, it's the same thing. Okay, and we said it is objective, meaning that it's focused on a particular problem. It's reliable. The probability of making error very low. Okay, and then we said it is what again? It is the best alternative, and it follows a lot of systematic process, which brings in new ideas. So all these are some of the advantages. We also look at the disadvantages. That the disadvantage, we mentioned that it does not consider the interest of the people. Okay, good. And we have non-quantifiable aspects of planning. And we said the approach is rigid and mechanistic. Goes through some calculations and all that, so makes it somehow difficult. Now let's go to normative. What do you mean by normative? It was formulated in the late 1960s and 70s. So it came to oppose the idea of positivism. So we call it anti-positivism. It doesn't support the idea that planning should be scientific. Planning should come down to the people. Planning should follow its social science, meaning that it should look at values. Okay. So it seeks to understand different meanings attached by people to their environment. That is how people understand and interpret their problems. What these people are looking at is that when it comes to the community is faced with its own challenges, its own problems. So if you go to America, take Americans' scientific way of solving their problem or doing their plan and bring it to Ghana here, it may not be feasible. You understand? So every community has its own problem that should be interpreted. That's what it was saying. Here, focus in the particular or uniqueness. That's what I mentioned earlier. Every community is unique. There are certain planning you cannot implement them in a GAP community. There are certain planning you cannot implement them in a typical away or in a typical account community. Because people are unique, people are different. People believe in so many things. Here, you look at values. Okay. Man is taken as a thinking and active man who responds to certain stimuli, as opposed to the positivity of human behavior, the positive approach. So we see human as somebody who thinks, who interacts. So he experienced a lot of things. Main feature is that man should be studied free of preconceived theories. So it's not like just like we came to university there. You see, we came to meet all these things. Okay. We came to meet all these things. So what you're studying now, the course you're studying, we came to meet it. So it's like what we are studying, what we came to meet is what we're studying. But basically, what this humanistic approach is saying is that no, you can't follow that procedure. You will have to, every community is unique. So we have to study every community as a unique way. You don't have to go already preconceived that, okay, this is how we came to meet it. So this is how it's supposed to be. No. Okay. Make observation first and generalization later. So you can see that most of the positive approach were generalized. I mean, they look at what has happened in nature and they generalize that it should happen everywhere. The plan that was achieved in Ghana can also be achieved everywhere, but it's not true. Positively said that before you make that hasty generalization, you need to make some observation first in the community. Okay, this community is a Ghana community, they like Kenke a lot. So, and Kenke is made with maize. The maize has this kind of trait. So if they, maybe if people are becoming heavy because of the Kenke, it becomes what you call a trend. Understand? Before you can make, you need to study all these uniqueness before you can make a generalization. Methodology of this approach is participatory observation, meaning that it allows for room for ideas. Okay. It is an inductive method, case study oriented method, which leads to in-depth knowledge in case theory of particular cases. So because we specify on the uniqueness of every community, we get to know the in-depth understanding or in-depth knowledge. Is are you following? We get to know the in-depth analysis and in-depth knowledge about each particular class that we want to implement the plan. So if you study those in, let's say, central region, want to develop a particular plan, you have to study the way they behave. You have to get in-depth knowledge about them before you can execute that plan. Okay. It combines both existing facts and values. So while the positivist approach does not consider facts or considers only facts, this one considers facts and values. So these are the facts, but this is what we believe in, or this is what the people believe in. So let's blend it. Okay. In this case, there's focus on man's interaction with its physical environment. Now let's look at some, please you understand the normative, right? I said the normative has got to do with the other one, that's non-scientific. They don't follow any scientific procedure. Okay, so unlike the positivism who believes in the idea that, well, people should go by the scientific approach. This one looking at the fact that no, we should go by the humanistic approach. We should study how unique or how different people are and implement it. I've mentioned some of them. They consider values. I mean, some of them. They make observation first. Man is the main feature. What again? Yes, they are more particular about social issues than scientific issues. Let's look at some advantages. Has given rise to the humanistic approach to planning. Okay, so the normative planning approach or method was not at first used, but because it's being used now, okay, it has given us another way or another method of planning, which is the humanistic approach, besides the scientific. Okay. This came up in the 1970s, and 70s in response to the shortcomings, the positive approach. So the positive approach, some of them, you can't calculate everything in the community. You can't calculate. So place where we can't calculate, we apply the normative approach there. Aim was to develop socially relevant approach, which seeks to explain human behavior. So we actually seek to explain the uniqueness or how human behave instead of going by the scientific procedure. Okay. Allows the participation of what subjects. So it allows participation of other people or the local people, or it takes into consideration the interest of the people. Okay. It is more action oriented. It is more action oriented in that planner experiments with the people. The planner liaises with the beneficiaries. There is like a transactive planning where the planner comes and interacts with the local people. He learns from the local people. The local people also learn from the planner. Okay. Yes. It is a learning approach to planning which makes it more realistic. Okay, I think it's the same to the continuation of this, which makes it more realistic as the beneficiary participates in the planning process. Because those people who are going to benefit are planning, are part of it, we're able to identify their main issues. Okay. Planning under this approach is responsive as it focuses on specific problems and people's essential needs are addressed. So this planning process focuses on specific needs, specific projects, problems, or specific essentials that people need, instead of generalizing it. If we come to Akan community, or we come to those in Greater Accra, maybe the need of those in Greater Accra may not be the need of those in, let's say, the Upper East. Yes. Planning gives us essential, more in-depth knowledge. They mention it at the top. So it helps us acquire more knowledge, but it demands in-depth analysis. You have to print out questions and need to engage the people. By the time you are done, you'll be abreast with a lot of knowledge. Okay. Now let's go to the last subtopic, which is the disadvantages. Disadvantages of normative. There are practical problems related to the methodology. Meaning, what this means is some part of planning demands that which are practical, or they are quantifiable. You can't go planning by only humanistic approach. Sometimes you need to blend the two. You need to blend scientific too. It is time consuming. Okay, it's time consuming. You need to study a lot. You need to bring a lot of people on board. You need to engage stakeholders. You need to understand the history of the people. You need to know where you are heading to. So it takes a lot of time instead of scientific method where we just calculate and we are going. It is too embracing and cumbersome, meaning that there are so many things in society that you may not need. Okay, but because you are dealing with social issues, you have to go down to the people. You have to go down and involve everybody. But there's some people who may not even need the whole planning process. But because it got to do with the whole community, which is more humanistic, you need to go down to everybody and engage. But then now, or it makes it very difficult for you. It is limited in its application to the outside world. One advantage of the positive approach was what? It was universal. But this one is not universal. Why? Or it focuses on only particular people. If you're able to do your research and identify that only those in Greater Accra like it, so you're going to implement that one in Kumasi, it won't work. Because my friends in Kumasi, what they like best is food and abenkwan, fufu, abenkwan, and nkrantinam, or beef. You get it. The same way when you come to Accra here and implement fufu, even though people are going to buy in a typical damp community, what they like is kinky. Yes. Can generate some arguments and controversies. I've never with people. Not everybody wants to give out information. Some will think you are trying to expose them. Some will have issues with your planning. Some will have dragging this, and you understand what you mean by controversies. You want to achieve anything. This is what I believe. This is what we came to meet. This is what I think. You understand? All these things I will make it controversies. And planning has some quantitative aspects. Okay, that one is similar to the practical one, where you can't go linearly by social humanistic approach. Sometimes you need to blend the sciences to your planning. So I think that's all for this evening. Thank you for joining. Tomorrow we continue. Tomorrow we won't keep long. I'll handle only 2 topics. The introductory part, we'll talk about a little bit about the theories, and then I'll come to the original planning and all that. Please, any question?
I'm good.
Barrister, about the positive approach and then the normative approach, how questions be set here? Like how would they raise the question?
Okay, the question you could explain is explain similarities or highlight the similarities between the positivism and the normative or positive approach and normative approach in as a planning methodology. And then explain some of the advantages and disadvantages. Of course, if the question comes, it will come with advantage and disadvantage, so you have to discuss. Hello, Esther.
Yes,
Yes, you heard me.
actually,
Right?
I got it. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, Lindsay. Please, you can unmute themselves.
Yeah, I was just saying, do you mind projecting what you were reading?
Tomorrow. Can you speak up? I didn't hear you.
Do you mind projecting what you were reading? Unless it's something written. Like, I mean, the question. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, sure. Yes, anybody else?
Barrister,
Yes.
please kindly send the past questions, okay?
All right, sure. I'll say it right after that. Okay, sure. Please, any other question? No question. Okay. So I'm going to share. I think you all have access to this PDF, right? The one on Sakai is more as detailed as this. So I suggest you use this one to study. Okay. And tomorrow we will meet. I'll communicate the time that we meet. Yes. So I wish you the best. I'm going to upload this. Yes.
With what you have taught, are this your analysis of what's are coming?
Come
Or
again.
it's just your
You said what?
I'm asking with what you have taught today, are this your
Okay.
analysis from past questions for areas that might be coming or what?
Yes. These are key areas that you should come. The acquire positive, the colonial, and then this one. So tomorrow we do the last part and we are done. So you can learn these three things tonight. So we'll go through it again. The discussion that we had. And we are done. Tomorrow too, after the meeting, you go through that one too, and you're good to go.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, there's one still campus. You can text me. I'm looking my number in the group. You can text me. I'll send you the first question and then the slide. Please, any other question? No question. Okay. Okay. Then thank you for joining. I'll see you tomorrow evening.
Barrister, please,
Is that what?
Barrister, your
Yes.
contact.
I think I've dropped in the chat box. So.
Okay.
Hello, Barrister.
Hey, I say yes.
Can you please get the slides you just used?
Yes, yes, sure.
Put it back where you found it.
Okay, then good night.